Welcome to this collector's item for any true supporter of Manchester United Football Club. A celebration of great FA Cup memories from the 60s to the present day. The players and the moments which have always made this a special competition for the club. Still referred to on the Stretford end as the King. There have been few more popular players at Old Trafford than Denis Law, part of the legend of Best, Law and Charlton. Denis started his career at Huddersfield Town playing for Bill Shankly, and it was on Shankly's recommendation that Matt Busby signed Law from Torino in 1962 for a then record fee of £115,000. The dividends were instant. After a lean spell, United won the FA Cup in 1963, with Law on the score sheet. This proved the springboard to spectacular success enjoyed through the late 1960s, culminating in the 1968 European Cup win at Wembley. Sadly for Denis, injuries saw him miss what would have been his finest hour. And even though Law moved on to Manchester City late in his career, he's still regarded as the king of United's goal scorers. Once described by Pelé as the best player in the world, Belfast boy George Best crossed the Irish Sea for Manchester as a 15-year-old in 1961. By 1965, he'd won the league championship, and star status was confirmed after a mesmeric display in Lisbon against Benfica, earning him the nickname El Beetle. He became the biggest superstar English football had ever seen and brought the swinging 60s onto the football field. His greatest year remains 1968, when he was a goal scorer in the European Cup final and he was named European Footballer of the Year. But as United started to slide in the early 70s, so did George. His last game for United came in 1974, and despite continuing his career at a host of smaller clubs, he never reached the same heights again. Some say he never fulfilled his enormous talent, but he would dispute that. After all, he won nearly every honour in the game and racked up just under 500 appearances for United, scoring 180 goals. No one can argue he is regarded as Manchester United's greatest ever player. By the time Tommy Docherty brought Lou Macari down from Celtic in 1972, the pint-sized Scot had already enjoyed considerable success at Celtic Park. The jack-in-the-box striker epitomised the new breed of young, exciting United player. His all-round enthusiasm and energy proved hypnotic to the Red Army on the terraces, and he soon became a firm favourite. A vital component in the promotion side and in the cup runs of the late 70s, and his inadvertent role in the winning goal in 1977 has gone down in Wembley folklore. His chances became more limited when Ron Atkinson brought in his own players, but typically Macari stuck around and proved an invaluable squad member, often coming off the bench with huge effect. He finally left Old Trafford in 1984 to pursue a career in management. Martin Buchan joined Manchester United from Aberdeen at the worst possible time. By February of 1972, United were in free fall. Relegated in 74, manager Tommy Docherty needed tough and driven competitors to hold them out of Division 2. In Scotsman Buchan, he had the perfect personality. A solid, unspectacular defender, he had outstanding leadership qualities, and his uncompromising style complemented Docherty's exciting new young team. He led United to the Division 2 Championship, and his finest hour came in 1977 when lifting the FA Cup when United beat Liverpool 2-1. His days in a red shirt were numbered when Ron Atkinson took over in 1981, but to this day, there have been few better captains seen at Old Trafford. Belfast-born Sammy McIlroy made a scoring debut in the Manchester Derby in 1971, the last of the Busby Babes, who became an ever-present throughout the 1970s. McIlroy was a ball-playing midfielder, comfortable with either foot and with a keen eye for goal, scoring an impressive 74 goals in 419 appearances for the club. He was the key player in the promotion push in 1975, as he was in 3 cup final appearances in 76, 77 and 79. Despite winning the cup only once in 1977, he did score that dramatic equaliser against Arsenal in the so-called 5-minute final in 79. Once Ron Atkinson brought Brian Robson in 1981, McIlroy knew it was time to move on. After a successful spell as manager of Macclesfield Town, McIlroy was appointed manager of Northern Ireland in the year 2000. Canadian-born Irishman Jimmy Nicholl made the right fullback position his own in the late 1970s. Nicholl won an FA Cup winners' medal in 1977 and was also on the losing side in 79. A dependable, if unspectacular defender, perfect for the cautious approach of his manager Dave Sexton. However, once Sexton departed in 1981, so did many of his players. Nicholl didn't suit the more cavalier approach of the new manager and moved back to the country where he was born, to play for the Toronto Blizzards. Perhaps one of the least celebrated of United players in this era, he still managed nearly 250 appearances for the club. There have been few more popular personalities around Old Trafford than Stuart Pancho Pearson, a direct but deceptively nimble striker who epitomised the brave new world United entered in the mid-1970s after the damaging retirements of Best, Law and Charlton. Pearson was signed from Hull City in 1974 and his impact was immediate. Promotion in 75 was followed by FA Cup final appearances, and Pancho was a scorer in the 2-1 win over Liverpool in 1977. But just as he was approaching his peak in 1978, he suffered a knee injury which would keep him out for virtually a whole season. He struggled for form and fitness after that and was replaced in the starting lineup by new signing Joe Jordan. After 179 appearances and 67 goals, Pearson left Old Trafford for West Ham. Tommy Docherty knew that to make United great again, he needed to build a team with a blend of flair and strength. Recruited from Millwall, Londoner Gordon Hill certainly came under the flair category. In tandem with Steve Coppell on the right, Hill on the left gave United an attacking edge that had been missing for too long. There was a swagger about him, sometimes mistaken for arrogance, but more often than not, he delivered on the pitch. His stay at Old Trafford was all too short, and his laid-back approach was perhaps not appreciated when Dave Sexton arrived as manager. But Hill's best years were in a red shirt, as he contributed 51 goals in 134 appearances. For Manchester United and England, Steve Coppell was one of the first names on the team sheet. A reliable right-sided midfielder or winger and a master at getting in crosses from all angles. While he was studying at Liverpool University, Coppell's skills were first appreciated by Tranmere Rovers, and it was Tommy Docherty who persuaded the Liverpudlian to make the journey down the East Lancs Road to Old Trafford. Coppell became a firm favourite of United fans with his exciting right-wing play and eye for the spectacular goal. He still owns the record for most consecutive games for United, 206 appearances between 1977 and 1981. And it's therefore ironic that injury brought his career to a cruelly premature end in 1984 at the age of just 28. Coppell was greatly missed, both by club and country, but he did forge out a highly successful managerial career, most notably at Crystal Palace. Young Scotsman Arthur Albiston was thrown into the deep end as a 19-year-old to replace the injured Stuart Houston in the 1977 FA Cup final, and he was rarely out of the starting lineup for the next 10 years. Albiston was a much underrated left-back, an eye for getting forward, delivering his pinpoint crosses was just one of his strengths. He appeared in 4 FA Cup finals in all, winning 3 times, the last in 1985 against Everton. When Alex Ferguson arrived in 1986, Albiston's days were numbered. Age was not on his side, and in 1988 he moved on to West Bromwich Albion. But he made a total of 485 appearances for United, and is one of the most underrated performers at left-back in the club's history. The term underrated could have been invented to describe Jimmy Greenough. He'd already enjoyed a productive career before joining United from Stoke City in 1976, but quickly became a firm favourite with the United faithful. As a striker, he was never the most prolific, but he was a player's player, and seemingly in keeping with the tradition of many subsequent United forwards, more of a scorer of important goals in big games. He'll best be remembered for his winning effort against Liverpool in the 1977 Cup final. Unlike brother Brian, who also played for Manchester United, Jimmy never won an England cap, but to many who saw him play, there have been few more popular players in a red shirt. When Gary Bailey put on the goalkeeper's green jersey for the first time in 1978, he was replacing a legend in Alex Stepney between the posts. And it's testimony to how well Bailey did that he was the undisputed #1 at Old Trafford until injury saw him quit in 1987. He was brought up in South Africa, the son of the former Ipswich goalkeeper Roy Bailey. Gary soon became one of the brightest young keepers in the English game. Were it not for Peter Shilton and Ray Clements, he would undoubtedly have made more than 2 appearances for England. He put the heartbreak of the 1979 FA Cup final behind him to lift the famous trophy twice, and is possibly best remembered for a last gasp save against Gordon Smith of Brighton in the 1983 final. Ironically, it was a training ground injury whilst with England which ultimately saw him retire prematurely at the age of just 29. It's unlikely that there has ever been a braver soccer player to wear the red shirt of Manchester United, but as a teenager, Kevin Moran was a Gaelic football star for his native Dublin. Once he switched to soccer, he was soon snapped up by United. Under Ron Atkinson, he established himself as a regular in the first team, soon earning a reputation as a no-nonsense defender, not scared to put his head in where it hurt. And it usually did hurt. The sight of Moran being whisked off the pitch to be stitched up before heroically returning was a common one in the early 80s. But this reputation also betrays the fact that Moran was a talented player who built a superb international career and who chipped in with more than his fair share of important goals. Ultimately, Moran was deemed surplus to requirements by Alex Ferguson, but typically he carried on his career and enjoyed a marvellous Indian summer at Blackburn Rovers. When Scottish international Gordon McQueen signed for Manchester United in 1978, he'd already won a league championship medal for Leeds in '74. It was quite a coup for Dave Sexton to secure the services of this graceful, tall centre-half, and McQueen soon became a firm favourite with the Old Trafford faithful. He was usually unbeatable in the air, deceptively quick on the ground, and much underrated with the ball at his feet. McQueen initially prospered under Ron Atkinson, winning the FA Cup in 1983, but a combination of injuries and the emergence of the young Paul McGrath saw his chances limited. And after 229 appearances for the club, he moved on in 1985. The 22-year-old Ray Wilkins joined Manchester United from Chelsea in 1979 with a big reputation. He was seen as a technically gifted ball-playing midfielder and the complement to the more robust style of Sammy McIlroy. His initial failings were more to do with his new team's lack of progress under Dave Sexton. Under Ron Atkinson, and with new signing Brian Robson alongside him, Wilkins started to show why he was so highly rated. He wasn't known for his goal scoring, but Wilkins' goal in the 1983 FA Cup final is still one of the finest scored at Wembley. The next season would prove his last at Old Trafford. Atkinson was looking to rebuild the team around Robson. Wilkins was suddenly deemed surplus to requirements and was sold on in a high-profile transfer to Milan. Frank Stapleton was certainly no stranger to Manchester United fans when he journeyed north from Arsenal in 1981. He'd scored against them in the 1979 FA Cup final. But when Ron Atkinson took over the hot seat, he made it clear he wanted Stapleton to lead his forward line. Stapleton was never the most prolific goal scorer, but was considered by many to be the most complete centre-forward in the game at the time. He was particularly strong in the air, and like all good strikers, had a welcome knack of finding the net in the big games. In 1983, he became the first man to score in 2 FA Cup finals for different teams when he hit the target against Brighton. After winning another FA Cup medal in 1985, when he proved his versatility by playing in defence, after international teammate Kevin Moran was sent off, chances became more limited, and when Alex Ferguson replaced Ron Atkinson in 1986, Stapleton moved on to Ajax. He made a wonderful career for himself, for club and country, by making the most of his strengths. It's perhaps Brian Robson's misfortune that he graced an era when Manchester United were frustratingly inconsistent. Lesser players have won more honours in a red shirt, but it was wholly fitting that before he left Old Trafford, he would get his hands on what had to him been the Holy Grail, the League Championship. When Ron Atkinson signed him in 1981 for a then record fee of £1.5 million, he said it wasn't a gamble, and he was right. For both United and England, Robson was the heart of the team. All too often, he was missing through injury, but when Robson didn't play, the team suffered. Between 1981 and 1994, he wore the red shirt with immense pride on almost 500 occasions and has earned the right to be mentioned in the same breath as Best, Law and Charlton. Skillful, stylish and a wonderful passer of the ball, Dutchman Arnold Muren brought an extra dimension to Manchester United. By the time he'd signed for the Red Devils in 1982, he was already established as a star in the English game. He made over 200 League and Cup appearances for Bobby Robson's Ipswich, helping them to UEFA Cup glory in 1981. At Old Trafford, though, he'd only win one other trophy, scoring one of the 4 goals to defeat Brighton in the FA Cup final replay in 1983. But United fans remember the breadth of his vision and his calmly measured, defence-splitting passes. He was truly something special. At a time when few foreign players plied their trade in England, the Dutch international Muren started a trend which would change the face of the English game forever. Cool, composed and commanding, Paul McGrath marshalled United's back 4 for 7 years. A tough tackling hard man on the pitch, McGrath was a softly spoken Irishman off it. He arrived at Old Trafford in April 1982 and made 199 appearances for the club. It should have been many more. Recurrent knee trouble plagued his brilliant career. But despite the problems, McGrath would play a pivotal role during Ron Atkinson and then Alex Ferguson's time in the managerial hot seat. Off-field problems led to a parting of the ways in 1989 when he moved on to Aston Villa, but that gave him a new lease of life. He didn't look back and became PFA Player of the Year in 1993. Few youngsters have burst onto the scene with the impact of Norman Whiteside. Just 16 years old when he made his United debut, he's the youngest player ever to take part in the finals of the World Cup. Representing Northern Ireland at just 17 years and 41 days, beating the record previously held by Pelé. Whiteside was in the habit of breaking records, though. He became the youngest player to score in both League and FA Cup finals, scoring a spectacular winner in the 1985 FA Cup final against Everton. A naturally gifted all-round footballer, he could play either in midfield or attack, and there was no doubting the aggressive side to Whiteside's game. Dubbed Stormin' Norman, or Nasty Norman, with good reason. He was a terrace favourite, and fans were sorry to see him leave for Everton in 1989. Strength, aggression, tenacity, finishing. Mark Hughes had it all. Muscular in build, his ability to hold the ball up was unsurpassed. A quiet man off the pitch, the Welshman was explosive on it. His style, not to mention his goals, endeared him to the United faithful. A shock departure in 1985 took him to Barcelona and to Bayern Munich before he returned 3 years later to play under new boss Alex Ferguson. His second spell at Old Trafford culminated in the double in 1994. He helped start the ball rolling for United's dominance throughout the 90s. In 95 he joined Chelsea, the club he supported as a boy. And it didn't take him long to bring success to West London. Hughes is now creating shockwaves as manager of his home country, Wales. As a player and now a coach, Mark Hughes is a modern-day football legend. If one player epitomised Alex Ferguson's approach to football, it had to be Gordon Strachan. A tenacious Scottish midfield player and a member of Ferguson's European trophy-winning Aberdeen side in the early 80s. He'd already spent 2 years at Old Trafford by the time his former mentor arrived in late 1986. Ever reliable, the red-headed, temperamental Scottish international was a constant menace to opposition and an inspiration to teammates. An FA Cup winner in 1985, Strachan never gave anything less than 100% effort. His ability to win possession and make good use of the ball won him a place in the hearts of the Old Trafford faithful. Ferguson never lost faith in him either, using him to maximum effect. Upon leaving United in 1989, he moved to Leeds. Widely reported to be living on a diet of bananas, he ironically inspired his new club to the very first Premier League title in 1992, narrowly edging out his former club. Strachan's humour and fair play endeared him to fans everywhere, and today he continues to give us plenty to talk about as manager of Premier League Southampton. A defender in the traditional mould, Steve Bruce was a no-nonsense, strong-tackling centre-half. Snapped up for a bargain £825,000 from Norwich City in 1987, the Geordie would play for United 417 times. He was widely regarded as one of the best defenders of his generation, and it was a mystery why he was never called upon by his country. But England's loss was United's gain. His partnership with Gary Pallister formed the backbone of Sir Alex Ferguson's historic championship-winning sides of 93, 94 and 96. A rock in defence, Bruce also proved himself a handful at the other end of the field. There was no better example than in 1991 when he scored 19 goals, saving United at crucial times. But it's as a defender that he'll always be remembered. Now the boss of Birmingham City, Steve Bruce is always assured a warm welcome at Old Trafford. A true goalmouth predator, Scottish Footballer of the Year Brian McClair arrived at Old Trafford from Celtic in 1987, and he made an immediate impact, scoring 31 goals in his first season. No one had produced more in a season since George Best in the 70s. Playing with Mark Hughes and Eric Cantona, McClair was unstoppable, and he became an integral part of United's first Premiership title in 1993. Playing in a more withdrawn midfield role toward the end of his career, he proved a linchpin of Alex Ferguson's team, ending his career with an impressive tally of 128 goals from 470 appearances. Highly intelligent on the field and off it, he studied for a degree in mathematics at Glasgow University. McClair has now made the move into coaching as part of Ferguson's management structure. And who knows, maybe he's been groomed for a top job. Needless to say, he'd be a popular choice at Old Trafford. Lee Sharp's professional career started early. At 16, his performances for Torquay United attracted the attention of the big clubs, most notably Manchester United, who signed him at age 17. He came as a striker. Early appearances would be at left back, and then finally he made his name in his favoured left wing role. He was blessed with pace, balance and skill. A hat-trick against Arsenal in 1990 made him a household name overnight. His scintillating speed and cool head in front of goal earned him an international call-up too, and he represented England 8 times. Sadly, Sharp was then struck down with meningitis. The illness would ruin his season. The emergence of Ryan Giggs gave him fewer opportunities to weave his magic, and he left for Leeds during the 1996-97 campaign. At Old Trafford, Sharp won 6 trophies. Sadly, he'd then moved from club to club, never quite managing to make the impact of his early years. Neil Webb had football in his blood. The son of a former professional, his skill and vision saw him coveted by 2 of the greatest managers in the modern game. After spells in lower league football, he was earmarked for great things after signing for Nottingham Forest. Nurtured by the legendary Brian Clough, Webb's midfield skill and vision persuaded Alex Ferguson to spend £1.5 million on bringing him to United. His impact was immediate. A stunning goal on his league debut at Old Trafford promised much. But luck was against Webb. An injury on England duty saw his first-team opportunities restricted. He recovered in time for the 1990 FA Cup final, masterminding United's triumph against Crystal Palace, and it would be his finest hour in a United shirt. He was the self-styled governor. Paul Ince's battling, heroic style of play made him a firm favourite with the fans of every club he played for. This Essex boy signed for United from West Ham in controversial circumstances back in 1989, but he never looked back. He took time to adjust to his new surroundings, but once he'd settled in, Ince became the backbone of the title-winning sides of 1993 and 94. His ability to link defence and attack, his surging runs forward and his tough tackling gave him the tag, the new Brian Robson. And his no-nonsense approach to the game earned him an England call-up too. A proud man who captained his country and played no fewer than 50 times with the 3 lions on his jersey. Inter Milan took note, and in 1995 he joined the Nerazzurri. At the time, he was English football's sole representative in the Italian game. His career took him on to Liverpool, Middlesbrough and then Wolves. And even in his mid-30s, Ince still has football flowing through his veins. The best teams are always built on a defensive rock, and in Gary Pallister, United had a defender without peer in the English game. Strong, committed and ready for battle, he became a hero of Old Trafford. United spent a then record £2.3 million bringing him to Old Trafford from his hometown club Middlesbrough. It looked like an expensive gamble at the time, but it turned into a great piece of business. He was a fine reader of the game, brave in the tackle, with excellent aerial ability. His celebrated partnership with Steve Bruce provided the backbone of a United side that won honours at home and abroad. Winning a major trophy in all but one of his 9 years at Old Trafford, it was no coincidence that Pallister's arrival at the club coincided with the Red Devils' most successful ever period. Few players in world football have a medal collection to rival that of Dennis Irwin. Quiet, composed, but ever dependable, Irwin was signed by Alex Ferguson in the summer of 1990 from Oldham Athletic for £625,000. Over the next 12 years, he repaid that fee many times over. The Irish fullback made over 500 appearances for the Red Devils, winning 7 Premiership titles and 2 FA Cup winners' medals. He played a full part in United's European Cup and Cup Winners' Cup triumphs. He played his 527th and final game for the Reds against Charlton in May 2002, but when he moved on to Wolverhampton Wanderers, Ferguson described him as the greatest signing of his life. Irwin was always content to stay out of the limelight, but is rightly remembered by all followers of United as one of Old Trafford's all-time greats. Some players have skill, others have pace. Few possess both, but Ryan Giggs has it all. This Welsh wizard signed for United after receiving a personal visit from Alex Ferguson on his 14th birthday. That proved one of Ferguson's smartest moves. Giggs turned professional aged 17 in 1990, scoring a goal on his debut in the Manchester Derby. Since then, he's figured in one of the greatest eras in United's long and glorious history. He played for England as a schoolboy, but Giggs chose to represent the land of his birth, Wales, at full international level. He's yet to appear in a World or European Championship final, but Giggs has been instrumental in all the domestic and European glory achieved by United in the past decade. Few defenders over the years have managed to contain him. During the treble-winning campaign of 1999, he scored one of the greatest goals in FA Cup history against Arsenal. A goal to set United on the road to Wembley in what would ultimately turn out to be both United and Giggs' greatest ever season. Constant rumours of a move to one of the continental giants surround a unique talent. So far, he's managed to shrug off the speculation with another season of awe-inspiring performances. And Old Trafford, hopefully, has not seen the last of Ryan Giggs. Pacey, powerful, explosive, Andrei Kanchelskis burst into Old Trafford to become a favourite of the fans. No one knew much about this Russian winger when he arrived from Shakhtar Donetsk in the Ukraine back in 1991. But bringing balance to the right side of the United midfield, Kanchelskis' pace was soon a key to United's counter-attacking style in the early 90s. 36 goals in a Red Devils shirt, highlights including a hat-trick against bitter rivals Manchester City. 158 games for the club, and his contribution was key in winning 2 Premiership titles and an FA Cup. But after a fallout with coach Sir Alex Ferguson, Kanchelskis left in 1995 for Everton. Having played his football in Scotland with Rangers, Kanchelskis then moved on to earn a living in the Middle East. He would have been sorely missed had his position not been filled by a young man called David Beckham. Now for a goalkeeping legend. Few players have made such an impact at United. 6'4" and with a ferocious will to win, it was no coincidence that when Peter Schmeichel arrived at the club, it was the start of United's greatest ever period of success. He was signed up from Danish club Brøndby in 1991 for a mere £550,000, and Schmeichel went on to win 5 league titles, 3 FA Cups and a League Cup, before saving the best till last. In his final game for the club, the Great Dane captained United to glory in the 1999 Champions League final. His domestic success was matched by international heroics. Winning 128 caps, Schmeichel inspired the unfancied Danes to an unimaginable triumph when they won the 1992 European Championships. One of the true greats of the game, Schmeichel continued his career in England, but no matter where he plays, at Old Trafford, Peter Schmeichel will always be number one. Reliable, quick and strong for a fullback, Paul Parker had the lot. Sir Alex Ferguson knew that and paid Queen's Park Rangers £2 million for him in 1991. Blighted by injury, Parker's first year at Old Trafford was tough, but he bounced back, returning stronger than before. In the following 2 seasons, he cemented his place in the first team, picking up 2 championship medals and a Cup Winners' Medal on the way. He was a good tackler with fine passing ability and an important part of United's counter-attacking style. He had eye-catching pace, and Parker won 19 caps for England. Injuries plagued his career though, and he would lose his place to a teenage Gary Neville. Leaving United in 1996, Parker continued to play for some of England's biggest clubs, but this pocket rocket will always be remembered with affection in the red half of Manchester. Now we salute King Eric. Eric Cantona will go down as one of the greatest players ever to have worn a Manchester United shirt. But it all started so unpromisingly. An unknown quantity with a suspect temperament, eyebrows were raised when this French enigma signed from Premiership champions Leeds United in 1992. But a transfer fee of £1 million has to go down as one of Alex Ferguson's best ever pieces of transfer business. Cantona represented the missing piece in the jigsaw, the difference between runners-up and champions. United, with Cantona, stormed to their first Premiership crown in 1992-93. It was followed by League and Cup doubles in 94 and 96. And he ended his last season as captain with another league title in 96-97. His international career never went as smoothly. The one-time captain of France, Cantona was thought expendable by coach Aimé Jacquet. Along with another outrageously gifted Frenchman of his generation, David Ginola, Cantona would miss out on French triumphs in the World Cup and European Championships. For many, his genius was flawed. His infamous karate kick attack on a Crystal Palace fan in 1995 will never be forgotten. But above all, it will be for his brilliance that Cantona is remembered. It's a measure of his status that Cantona's name continues to be sung on Old Trafford's terraces years after his retirement. One of the best ball winners in the business, Nicky Butt is Manchester United through and through. Signed as a trainee in 1991, his loyalty to the club is unwavering. In a midfield packed with world-class talent, Butt often found himself in the role of substitute, the man providing solidity when the game is already won. But his tough-tackling defensive midfield style has made him a regular first choice for his country. And Pelé commented that Butt's performances for England at the World Cup in 2002 made him his player of the tournament. Who could receive higher praise than that? Described as having one of the most acute football brains ever seen at Old Trafford, Paul Scholes has spent a decade at the club. The attacking midfielder's ability to make late runs from deep, to create openings from tight situations, has seen him likened to club legends Brian Robson and Bobby Charlton before him. An integral part of United's treble-winning side in 1999, Scholes scored in the FA Cup final against Newcastle United, but missed the club's finest hour in recent history when he was forced to sit out the European Cup final through suspension. He's also been a regular in the England starting lineup, and Scholes is a player with a talent given to few. Whenever he's on the pitch, both club and country have an added creative edge up front. When Manchester United captured the coveted signature of Roy Keane, they paid a club and English record fee. Many would argue they had a bargain. The fiery Irishman's ball-winning skills, drive and determination made him an irreplaceable figure in the club's midfield, earning him the mantle Captain Fantastic. A commander on the pitch, Keane was the driving force at the heart of the treble-winning team of 1999, although he too missed the European Cup final through suspension. A booking in the semi-final against Juventus denied him a place he undoubtedly deserved. Keane was never frightened to court controversy, but he had a genuine hunger for the game that was simply irreplaceable, and he was arguably the most influential player in the Premier League in a decade. A lifelong United supporter, Gary Neville fulfilled his boyhood dreams beyond wildest expectations. An accomplished right-back for club and country, Neville has played more Champions League matches than any other player, making him one of the most experienced defenders anywhere on the continent. The epitome of United's die-hard spirit, he can keep up with the fastest of strikers, and his crossfield long balls open up opposition defences to create opportunities on the break. Neville is a fine ball winner, executing well-timed challenges at vital moments, and he has excellent positional awareness. A reliable and composed player who has been a huge influence in the dressing room at Old Trafford. An icon of the modern age. David Beckham, one of the most famous footballers in the world. Playing wide on the right of midfield, he rose to prominence in the mid-90s as one of Fergie's so-called fledglings, and he's rarely been out of the headlines since. Rising above the wrath of the nation after he was sent off playing for England against Argentina in the 1998 World Cup, Beckham has matured into one of his country's finest young captains. He's blessed with exceptional powers of fitness and physical stamina, and he was a triumphant member of the 1999 treble-winning side. One of the world's most gifted players, possessing a ferocious shot, a set-piece specialist, and an inch-perfect passer, both long and short, an all-round master of his trade. But with a pop star wife and an unrivaled flair for publicity, Beckham has the world at his footballing feet. Following in the footsteps of his older brother Gary, utility player Phil Neville joined Manchester United as a trainee. Football's gain was cricket's loss. Phil was regarded as an outstanding talent and could easily have become a county player at least had he not chosen the much more lucrative football world. Equally adept as a midfielder or defender, his performances have continually caught the eye of England managers, and he's been a regular in national squads, with the heartbreaking exception of France '98. A versatile player with excellent covering and man-marking instincts, he consistently impresses, whatever position he's asked to play in. A graduate of the National School of Excellence at Lilleshall, Andy Cole made his name at Newcastle United, helping them to promotion in his first full season there. The following year, 34 goals earned him the Golden Boot and the PFA Player of the Year award. They also alerted Alex Ferguson, who then paid a record British transfer fee of £6.25 million to secure his services for United. Just a year later, he collected a championship winner's medal. Cole had always been a prolific striker, but he developed a telepathic understanding with teammate Dwight Yorke, as the pair netted 45 goals between them in the 1999-2000 campaign. A hat-trick against Belgian club Anderlecht saw him overtake Denis Law as United's top scorer in Europe, a natural finisher and one of the finest marksmen of his generation. Dubbed the Norwegian Alan Shearer, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer joined United from Molde in 1996. Scoring on his debut, this baby-faced assassin soon became a permanent fixture in the starting lineup, ending his first season as top scorer with 19 goals. A quick thinker and cool finisher, he later came to be regarded as a super sub, Ferguson's final throw of the dice, coming on late to turn games with his lethal eye for goal. On an epic night for Manchester United, Solskjaer did that to perfection as he scored the winner soon after his introduction against Bayern Munich, securing the club's second European Cup and earning himself a place in Manchester United folklore. Alex Ferguson went to Turkey to find defender Ronny Johnsen. The Norwegian was playing for Besiktas when his talents alerted the Manchester United boss. Bought as a replacement for Steve Bruce, Johnsen soon proved his competence, becoming a permanent fixture in the starting lineup. Expert at marking players out of the game, notably Ronaldo for his country at France '98, and with fine aerial ability, Johnsen's performances earned him high acclaim. Despite battling a series of injury setbacks, he returned to the United side in early 1999, improving their defensive cohesion at a crucial time in pursuit of the treble. An obvious choice in the backline for the European Cup final in Barcelona, he was to collect a winner's medal. Skillful and composed, he became United's defensive rock. Arriving at Old Trafford as an accomplished international, Teddy Sheringham was quick to fit in. After spending much of his professional career at Tottenham Hotspur, Sheringham was concerned that at the age of 31, he had yet to win a major trophy. His spell at United certainly fulfilled that aim. As a member of the '99 treble-winning side, Sheringham was a late substitute in the European Cup final and is widely credited with changing the course of that match. Sheringham's an intelligent and accurate striker with great aerial presence. And in the 2000-2001 season, he was the club's top scorer and an instrumental figure in guiding United to the title, picking up a personal double, the PFA and Football Writers Player of the Year awards along the way. It was one-time England manager Graham Taylor who spotted the talent of Dwight Yorke on a pre-season tour of the West Indies, and the Trinidad and Tobago striker made a Premier League debut for Aston Villa in 1990 against Manchester United. But it was during his time at Old Trafford that Yorke really made his name. United had paid a club record fee to sign this hot-footed striker, and he went on to develop an incredible understanding with partner Andy Cole, setting the English league alight. With an immaculate touch and an abundance of natural ability, his tricks dazzled opposition defences. In his first season at Old Trafford, he scored an incredible 29 goals, and his electric form saw him play a pivotal role in United's charge for the title. When he became the world's most expensive defender, for Jaap Stam, it was a dream move to Old Trafford. Manchester United was the club he idolised as a youngster growing up in Holland. It was at PSV Eindhoven that his career took off, and his talent soon saw him wearing the famous orange jersey of the national side. A strong, powerful ball winner, Stam was arguably the best in his position in the world, with Johan Cruyff dubbing him a one-man defence. His reading of the game was second to none, and his immense physical stature meant he became an immovable object, marshalling the United backline. A European Cup Winners' Medal and the UEFA decoration of Best European Defender were just a couple of the accolades he took from a memorable 3 years in Manchester. A Frenchman with a growing reputation, Mikael Silvestre is a versatile defender. He has the ability to command either centre-back or full-back positions. This youngster caught the eye of Alex Ferguson while playing against United for Inter Milan. With pace and skill, Silvestre's attacking threat and crossing ability are as highly regarded as his defensive dominance. He took some time to settle into the English game, but Silvestre has improved in stature with every game he's played. Now a regular in the French international side and a favourite on Fergie's team sheet, Silvestre could well become one of the greats of the next generation. It would take nothing less than a world-class goalkeeper to fill the gloves vacated by the great Peter Schmeichel. But Fabien Barthez was well equipped to rise to the challenge. This former Marseille and Monaco star is a fan's favourite with his distinctive shaved head and maverick style. A World Cup winner, he was instrumental in France's triumph on home soil, making spectacular saves from long and short range. He's colourful and unconventional, but he has fantastic acrobatic ability, and he became Britain's most expensive goalkeeper when signing for United. Still, the fee soon proved money well spent. Calm under pressure, excellent under the high ball, and with accurate distribution and lightning reaction saves, Barthez is a master of his profession. Likened to the Dutch master Marco van Basten, Ruud van Nistelrooy is a powerful and imposing forward. His scintillating form for PSV Eindhoven saw him net 60 goals in just 2 seasons, but few thought the former Dutch Player of the Year would return to the top after a devastating cruciate knee ligament injury. Alex Ferguson still believed Van Nistelrooy was the man to lead United into the 21st century though, and in March 2001 he brought him to Old Trafford. Van Nistelrooy turned down a late approach from Real Madrid to smash the British transfer record. A lethal finisher with a huge hunger for the game, Van Nistelrooy also chases every ball. He's equally accurate from any goal-scoring position. Cool under pressure and precise both in the air and on the ground, he makes the goal scorer's art look easy. Widely considered one of the best players at France '98, Argentinian star Juan Sebastian Veron first made a major impact playing in Serie A in Italy. He became the first South American to play for United in the summer of 2001, this midfield maestro commanding a hefty price tag. He took a while to settle into the hurly-burly of the Premiership, but his quick feet and great ball control now seem to be worth their weight in gold. He always rises to the big occasion, and Veron has become a key figure in United's European campaigns, the creative force at the heart of the midfield. He has the vision to find the killer pass that can split defences open, a luxury addition to the Manchester United ranks. With a right foot as lethal as Beckham's, he's a master of the free kick or the long-range spectacular. The man Manchester United broke the bank to sign. Rio Ferdinand, groomed at West Ham's academy. He burst onto the professional scene as a teenager, and it was clear that Ferdinand had something special. Leeds United broke their transfer record to capture the young defender's signature, but after an impressive World Cup in the Far East, it was his move to United that saw the British transfer record shattered again. With excellent technical ability and temperament, Ferdinand's finest quality is his desire to be the very best. At ease on the ball, he's a skilled strategist with an excellent ability to read developments. His height and strength mean he's outstanding in the air, and for a young man, he's arguably the most complete defender England has produced in years. It looks more and more likely that he'll go on to become one of his country's greats. So a lineup of talent to grace the FA Cup or any other competition. Men who've helped create the legend of Manchester United. We hope you've enjoyed it. From us all, bye-bye for now.